Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. And we've worked our way through the amendments. Last month we did the 16th, and so I'm going up to the 17th Amendment today. And it's kind of an interesting amendment. A few weeks ago we were talking about the Senate and Section 3 of Article 1, and of how the Senate was originally set up. But today we're going to talk about the 17th Amendment. And the 17th Amendment changes that section to some extent. Okay, but let me just read it for you so you get a full context of it. And I am reading from my book, Textualism and Originalism, which has the Constitution in it split up. Okay, Amendment 17. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof. And this is what changes. Instead of the legislatures appointing, now it's elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have qualifications requisite for the electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures. So, the rules conducting the election of the state legislature, how you're allowed to vote, is exactly the same as is in the Senate. So if you can vote for your state legislature, you can also vote for your senator. And that's kind of an important distinction. At one point, only white men who own property could vote. Of course, by the time of this amendment, you have quite a few others allowed to vote. Blacks have been allowed to vote. So it has already been opening up. So, electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for the electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. And that most numerous branch is your state's assembly, your state's house, your delegate, House of Delegates, whichever it happens to be. When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. So, the executive has this authority. Now, if you remember the original section, the executive only had authority until the legislature met. So this is another change that we have. This amendment shall not be construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution. So we've changed that section now to allow for the people of the country to vote on their senator. And we're allowing vacancies to be replaced by the executive. This is an important distinction because when they were chosen by the state legislatures, they were directly representing the state. But yet, this is exactly the purpose of our Senate, is to represent the state in the legislature. So you have one branch by the people, the people's house, and you have another branch that's supposed to represent your states. And that is still the way it's designed and the way it's meant to be. Our senators are not just an upper chamber of the members of the House of Representatives. At least that's not what they're supposed to be. This is an interesting change, and I know it's one that has been discussed in certain political parties to revert back. But this does give the people a chance to vote on their own senators. They aren't exactly representatives, but they're senators with different duties, different rights. As the House is allowed all spending bills, the Senate is allowed approval of all appointees and approval of treaties. And so they are quite different in their formation. But I don't want you to think that somehow they don't have to represent their state any longer, because that is the purpose of the equality in the Senate. That's why it was done the way it was. And I hope you get something today out of my talk. And I hope you would subscribe or follow me on YouTube and Rumble. And it's important that you don't miss these talks, because it really does help you explain and understand what our Constitution ultimately is to mean, and why we have this Constitution to begin with. It's different than the original Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, but many sections were just carried over with changes. And so I just want you to understand some of our history of the reasons why it is the way it is. And that's why textualism, back with an originalist understanding of why we have it the way it is important. And that's why the events surrounding our Constitution are important. Some will always argue that our Constitution is very old. But some concepts and ideas are never out of vogue. The idea of defending ourselves against tyranny, against the tyranny of democracy, the tyranny of party, all these things still apply. Those that say they don't just simply don't understand the purposes and reasons that we have for our Constitution and why they spent so long arguing it. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. You folks have a good day now. Bye for now.